There are so many inventions, technologies, services that we have today because somebody said, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to fulfill my dream. I'm going to fulfill my purpose and my mission. And they kept going. They kept going through pain and sorrow and sickness. They just kept going. Is there something within you that's going to be the entrepreneurial journey that you want to walk, that's going to have an impact on the world, like some of these profound people did?
Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now.
My guest today is an entrepreneur advisor, holistic wellness mentor, podcast host, and Amazon bestselling author. With 40 years of business experience, Lisa Mosbey helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs align their health, mindset, and business strategy to create lives and businesses they truly love. As founder of the Insight Center for Wellness, Lisa empowers others to build with clarity, confidence, and intention. Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, there she is. Hey, Lisa.
Thanks for the introduction, LeAnn. I appreciate being here with you today. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Absolutely. I've got books behind me. You've got books behind you. Let's just dive into books. Just kidding. But so a little more background besides the formal introduction. Lisa and I have been running parallel for about 5 years officially now, running and developing our businesses. And it's been such a joy to get together regularly, weekly, usually. Unless she's like traveling through Africa, then it's a little more challenging. And we have coffee together virtually, just like kind of how you're experiencing it today. Because a lot of the time, Lisa is actually traveling full time. Lisa, why don't you tell us about your current lifestyle? You can describe it better than I can. I'm going to have a sip of coffee.
Yes. Well, some people use the word vagabond, but that's somebody who doesn't have a job or a purpose. Some people say nomad, and that just doesn't align with me. I'm more of a free spirit at the moment. My mom was from Czechoslovakia, and that heritage, that bohemian heritage, it's free flowing, and it's kind of going where maybe where the wind blows, but maybe where your spirit takes you, showing up in the world where you need to be. So I've been driven by surrendering to putting everything that I own in my car, letting go of everything that didn't fit in the car, and going where I need to be and living my life virtually for business and living a laptop lifestyle. A lot of people are talking about it, and there's this huge trend, this movement where I know many people who have moved into RVs. They're working from their computer if they're not retired, and they're going and seeing the world and experiencing life in a different way than we did in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. We're branching out.
So we talked a lot about laptop lifestyle over the years, both of us, and you are truly embracing it right now, where I'm still kind of in the planning stages. But both of us know that we're called to work with entrepreneurs that have that desire. And I love that in the introduction, we've talked about self-directed or self-motivated or purpose-driven types of people. Are you one of those?
Since I was 18. Honest answer. Yeah, it's interesting. When I was in high school, I was that kid that would get their assignment for the whole quarter and I would be done that week. Versus those kids that wait till the last possible minute and, scrambling the night of, working till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, hardly getting any sleep to turn in their assignments. So I would say I was probably a very purpose-driven person and managed stress at a really young age. If I have projects to get done, I organize, I get them done, and I don't want them sitting on my plate. I want to continue to move forward. I don't want things to hold me down or cause angst, where you're sitting with that stuff for a long period of time. So yeah, very driven, very driven.
How long have you been an entrepreneur, would you say?
Well, I got my real estate license when I was 18 years old. So, in the intro, you said 40 years. So we'll go with that, but it may have been one or two longer.
Because truly it's not. Now, some people misunderstand that. So let's talk about real estate for a minute. You have the experience there. I have some experience there as well. But when you're a realtor, you work for somebody, right? You have a broker. How can you call yourself a realtor if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a realtor? What's your answer to that?
Yeah, we all work for somebody, even if we're an entrepreneur or an employee, doesn't matter. You know, when you're making sales, you're working for the buyer. Always, doesn't matter what your role is. But an entrepreneur to me is simply somebody who's in charge of their own time. You're in charge of your own decisions. You make your own choices, whether it's working as selling something in a shop that you have or that you own, or you do sales, you sell Yellow Book as you've talked about, or selling houses. All of those behaviors are entrepreneurial behaviors. I had to figure out how to pay for my education. Nobody paid for it for me. I had to figure out how to manage my income. I was paid commission, hopefully at least every month, but sometimes there were lean months where maybe I didn't have sales. Interest rates were 15% when I got my real estate license, and I was rookie of the year with those interest rates. So learning creative financing, paying for my education, understanding schooling, all of those are things that we have to do as entrepreneurs to build our business.
Right. And so I'm so glad that's pretty much exactly the answer I would give as well. My first step towards entrepreneurship really was my outside sales rep position, as you mentioned, with Yellow Book, Yellow Pages. I'd been a teacher, and as a teacher even, I felt something as an entrepreneur because I did control my kingdom, my classroom, right? To a degree. I decided what my late turn-in policy was. I knew, how I was going to schedule the things out. And yet I also wasn't, because I had certain curriculum, I had certain deadlines given to me. So it was a balance. Outside sales was much more towards that entrepreneurial feel. Like I could schedule getting my nails done at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. And that's when I really fell in love with that type of freedom. So I do think entrepreneurs in general have more freedom and more flexibility, but they can abuse it as well. Don't you agree?
Like anything, whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee, I mean, how many employees abuse their time? They take vacation time or take sick time and go on vacation and don't use it the way that it's intended. There's always abuse in the system. I think really with entrepreneurship, it comes down to your dedication, your commitment, your level of intensity, in a sense, of making sure that you get things done. You set goals and you follow that. Maybe goals isn't even the right word. You have to come up with a way to schedule your time, because if you're left to your own, to just do nothing but fun, you're not going to be an entrepreneur for very long. There has to be some way for you to move your business forward. Versus if you're an employee, there's usually a plan in place. There's usually a job description. There's usually hours that you open, hours that you close. There's vacation time that's scheduled. There's sick days that are available when you need them. Entrepreneurship, there's none of that. There's really no guidelines whatsoever. So find other people who have done it before you to become successful. You can follow them, find yourself a mentor, but have a plan in place. Entrepreneurship isn't just hanging a shingle and hoping people show up to buy your wares or your service.
Certainly isn't that easy. You really do have to be intentional with what you're doing and how you're doing it. How do you organize your day and your week? How do you set that up?
Sure. Well, you were kind of jumping ahead. I'm not a real estate agent anymore. I sold real estate. Then I had a real estate training company with two other partners, and was just a shareholder in that, and also the director of sales and marketing, and moved out of real estate, and then left that and became, a trainer. Basically, I would teach people sales and marketing, how to set up their computers. And I still do that in a sense, but I really fall more into that area of life coach, because I moved in from sales training into going back to school, learning about health and wellness. And from there, I started a practice where I was working with folks, learning about their health and wellness. And again, all of those things, there are different ways in which I scheduled my time and planned my day. When I was seeing clients one-to-one for health and wellness, there had to be an introductory time where I would schedule so many hours in my week where I could meet with people and actually dive deeper into their health and wellness. When I was in real estate, you would schedule time, block time when you'd be showing houses. Now, as a entrepreneur advisor, I do the same thing. I have those intake calls and they happen on certain days of the week. I have group conversations, community calls, where those happen on set days every month and people can join or not join. And it really stems around my calendar. I plug all of my meetings into my calendar to manage my time. If I try to wing it, we're never going to get anything done. And I think that same thing applies to employees. You know, if you are an employee, you're expected to show up at certain times. You build the employee schedule for yourself as an entrepreneur.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And it is so important, make those appointments with yourself and not just with other people. I'll tell you what, I'm much better at keeping my appointments with other people. Totally true. But if you're not keeping those appointments with yourself, like I do have time, I have a couple of virtual assistants, and guess what? They really like it if I'm consistent with the time and day that I pay them each month. Funny thing. So I have that scheduled in and I have an alarm that goes up. Ding, ding, time to do payroll, right? Not everybody has payroll per se, but you always have other things you have to do. You have to do some marketing. If you're doing marketing, you have to do some recording. You have to do for podcasting. We do the recordings, then we do the editing, then we do the promoting, right? So you have to schedule time in for all of the different pieces, from marketing to intake, as you mentioned, to producing for your clients. And yeah, setting appointments with yourself is an excellent way to do so. What do you love most about being an entrepreneur?
It's that I never learned to play well with others in the sandbox. And since kindergarten, I've always been a leader. It happened in kindergarten and every grade thereafter, where I was chosen to be the person that people could follow. Even though when I do the personality tests, I'm not a red, I'm not a number one, I don't fit into that role, but somehow it fits into my personality. I don't fit into those personality tests 100% accurately. And so leadership has always been really important. And I was gifted a program called Hooked on Phonics when I was in kindergarten. And I brought it to school, and it was learning to enunciate and learning words. And the teacher would play it, and we would have Hooked on Phonics Day. And when my mom and dad moved, because we bought a house, they built a house, I had to take my program with me, move schools, and it was traumatizing. It was like, here I was, this little, this fish in this little pond. And I brought this and I got to share with the group, and, I got to pour into other people and help the teacher facilitate that. And I think at such a young age, 5, 6 years old, it was ingrained in me to teach, to share, and to be a leader. So when you step into a job, the jobs that I have had for a short period of time, every single one of them I was fired from, because you're trying to take this over. You're trying to make it like it's your own business. You're after my job. It didn't matter where I was. Even if I wasn't after somebody's job, I wanted to step in there and make it better. I wanted to share everything that I knew. I wanted to help those companies grow. But people within the structure of a company, if they don't have the right culture, people get threatened and they're fearful of their job. So I think for me, the piece that I really enjoy about being an entrepreneur is that I get to be the boss. And I don't mean that in a way that I dictate things. I get to decide, and I get to invite people into that decision process and work with them in a culture that's inclusive, not rejecting other people's ideas or dictating how we're going to go. Because obviously I don't know everything. I'm really good. I'm like Henry Ford. He said, he was quoted as saying, I don't know everything, but I know everyone that knows everything. And I try to be that same person. I know I don't know everything. I am a C student at best. I said the only A I ever got was on my blood test because I'm an A+. After that, it was B's and C's. It's the best I can do for you. But I am a great communicator and connector, and I know a lot of people, so I can probably find the answers for folks. if I'm given the opportunity. And that's what I love about being an entrepreneur is I network, I get to meet people, I get to grow a group of passionate, heart-centered, intention-driven entrepreneurs together so that we see the change that we want in the world.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I love that we also get a chance to pick who we work with. Like if it's not a fit, it's, it's in our purview to say, you know what, it's not a fit. I think you'd do better. And since you do know a lot of people, oftentimes you can find somebody else that might be a better fit for them, which is wonderful, but not always possible either. But we just get the opportunity to work with the people that really bring us to life as well, that we can help bring their dreams to life. So I love that for you. We are also coming up on an opportunity shortly. You are going to be a speaker, yay, on the Restart Your Business Summit. I'm super blessed that you have taken this opportunity to be part of this summit where we, again, will be pouring into those people who are starting or restarting a business, that they're looking for that insight. Oh, Insight for Wellness. There you go. Insight Center for Wellness. That's your website. So I'm very excited that you'll be part of that. Right after this break, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what you are going to share on that summit. So we'll be right back.
Hey, sales setters, are you ready to jumpstart your entrepreneurial journey or give your business a powerful refresh? Join us at the next Restart Your Business Summit, where you'll discover the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive. Learn more at joyminder.com. That's JOYMINDER.com, and look for the Restart Your Business Summit icon. Don't miss out. Your future business awaits.
And we are back with Lisa Mosbey, founder of the Insight Center for Wellness. She's also going to be a speaker coming up on the Restart Your Business Summit in September of 2025. Very excited about that. She is an accomplished speaker, author. I know I'd love to talk about your book in a few minutes here, but what are you going to be sharing on the summit as well?
Well, we're going to talk about the book right now because the title of my talk for the summit is called Live Well, Travel Far, Why Wellness is a Journey, Not a Destination. And that just so happens to be the same title as my book. And we're talking about wellness, defining wellness, my definition of wellness versus the definition of wellness, and how that applies to being an entrepreneur. What does it look like to be well in your business?
Okay, well, what does that look like? Give us a little.
If I give it away, there's no reason for people to come to the summit. So there's 5 pillars that we'll be talking about in that conversation. I hope people can come and join us and learn more about it.
Excellent. And of course, you can probably find out a little bit if you check in. Now, Lisa, you also have a show. What's the name of your show?
Bit of Insight with Lisa Mosbey. And that's also my website. If people want to find me, they can find me at abitofinsight.com.
Okay. And so that's the name of her show. Probably can pick up a few things there, but you'll want to check out what she has to share in person. It's going to be an exclusive conversation that she's sharing with us on the summit as well. So talk about that book writing thing. How long had you wanted to write a book?
I started the book a couple of years ago during the time that my mom and dad were sick. I started making notes, little memoirs, things that I thought were revelations for me as I was walking that long journey home with them. And I would make notes, like dictate to my phone. And so I had all these paragraphs of things. And my intention when I sat down to finally compile it was to write a memoir about that. I actually had the cover of the book created and the title of the book called The Long Journey Home before I started writing the book. And so I had the vision for it. But then when I started writing the book, that's not what came out. I took some of those stories and I applied them, but my passion is for travel. I've been to 27 countries now, and I really wanted to talk about travel because of the profound experiences I've had. My life lessons oftentimes happen while traveling, not while working. when you're at peace, when you're happy, when you're joyful, when you're experiencing something new and you're more relaxed in those spaces, things come to you. Like you get these aha moments. And so I started tying together my aha moments of travel, my aha moments with caring for my mom and dad, and then the lessons that I've learned as 40 years as an entrepreneur. And the funny thing is, you ask, when did I want to write the first book? I pulled out this folder when I was downsizing everything into my car, and it said book on it. And it was in the filing cabinet. I had to get rid of all the files because I'm not taking files with me. And I opened it up and I flipped back. The first book I ever wrote was on image. I read a book called How to Influence Friends, something like that. What is it? The Psychology of Influencing Friends, or how to influence.
Yeah.
But there was a really old book. And so I opened up this, and it's image consulting. And I went through, and there's chapters in there. And as an 18-year-old, I started documenting what I had to wear, how I had to do my hair, how I had to wear my makeup. And there's actually a book that I hand wrote in this folder. After that one, there was a book on herbs that I had written about because I started studying herbs when I was really young with my grandmother. I had 3 books that I had kind of penciled out, made notes on, and they were in there. So I think the idea of having a book came to me at a really young age, and I had started developing that. I wrote another one called Pots of Fun, which was all about how to do herb gardening in containers, and that was probably in my 30s. And then we stepped into an 18-page PDF book that was all of the recipes and remedies that I had made for myself when I was first diagnosed with skin cancer. I couldn't use any chemical stuff at all, so I made all my skin creams. I made my own shampoo, my own laundry soap, my own dish soap, all of the things. So I had written an ebook about that. And then there was another ebook that I wrote about CBD when I learned about using that when my mom was going through her cancer journey, and how I studied and learned about CBD. So the book writing process has been long in my life. I'll say I've been doing it over and over, but they're really PDFs or ebooks. And this is the first time that I actually said, I'm going to compile this and really try to put together my fundamentals. Like, how do I live my life, tie it to a travel theme, and actually print it in a paperback? And so this will be my first time doing that.
Absolutely. And first time as an Amazon bestseller. Woo-hoo.
Yes, we did get there. Yes.
Did get there. Absolutely. Funny, because my first book that I wrote when I was 6 years old, I did the little, take a whole bunch of pieces of paper, staple it together, drew a picture on the front. It was about dinosaurs. Brought it to school, showed it to the librarian, and told her where I wanted her to put my book on the shelf. Random spot, and I'm 6. And I still remember that. And now, when I was 6, there was nobody with a video camera recording that, right? So this is a real memory that I have of this. And yet, still haven't published a book. I have published some ebooks like you. They have actually kind of gone away because the websites that they were on are gone. And so it'd be hard pressed to pull those back up at any point now, but congratulations. And by the way, for anybody listening, I've had the blessing of reading this book. It is, I got to tell you, the first paragraphs even are just like waves of calming water just washing over your soul.
For saying that, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Live Well, Travel Far by Lisa Mosbey. Highly recommend. And just, come to the summit because you hear more about it, hear more in all the, and, maybe there'll be a little bit of an offer there to get a hold of the paperback. So we're excited to see that coming up. So here we are. Where have you've been kind of doing this free floating travel laptop lifestyle thing. Where have you been so far, and where are you going to be headed?
Yeah. Well, I'm in Minnesota now because we're close together. We're in the same vicinity, same state. My most recent trip was I spent 30 days in South Africa, and that's what actually allowed me the time and the space to pull the book together. When I got back from that, I sat in a on the sixth floor of a condo development building overlooking the ocean in New Smyrna Beach. And I bought a table at Walmart, just those little folding, I didn't get it at Walmart, I shouldn't say that, but a folding table, ordered it, sat there, set up my computer and said, I'm going to take and compile all of my notes, things that I had, written or voiced and put them all in one place. And I think it was the peace and the serenity that I had being in Marlowe Park, which is part of the near Kruger National Park, and seeing the animals and being in that wilderness and just being, many people call Africa the cradle of humanity. And there's a peace that comes over you. And I made my way to some waterfalls, massive waterfalls, went and walked the countryside and walked in Kruger with armed guards, because you become the prey when you're in that environment. And it was such a surreal experience that it helped me to shed a lot of the fear and phobia and say, you know what? You've wanted to do this for a really long time. You keep making notes and you keep doing this. Why don't you put it together and see what that could look like? And so that all happened because of going to Africa, I think. And then the gal who wrote the forward is the person that I stayed with while I was in Africa. So she has been writing for 12 years about her travels around the world. And so seeing that, it inspired me to say, hey, what are you good at? What do you need to leave here? What's the legacy? Because I don't have any children. So my legacy has to come from my words. And so that's what Africa did for me.
You were also relatively unplugged while you were in Africa, that you were very, very much on point. We did communicate a couple of times while you were there, but it was very, very limited while you stayed focused. And did that play a part in it as well, do you think?
I couldn't write while I was there because the Wi-Fi was scattered. Electric is scattered, Wi-Fi is scattered. Sometimes the water is not necessarily on. So, yeah, I think that just letting go of and being attached to the digital devices for a month, I would have times where I could check in at least once a day. We were somewhere, if we went into town, we could check Wi-Fi. Sometimes we would have Wi-Fi at the house that we were at. But being disconnected from it, I think there's a surrender that happens because of that. Like when we're there all the time, I don't think my brain can focus because you're getting all these bits of information through the internet, through different social media platforms. And I never had the time to just sit. There was no TV. I didn't have a TV in my room. There was a TV on the premises, but it was in a different room and we never even turned it on. Not one time in 30 days. And there were 3 of us living in this house. I was staying with another couple that had invited me to come stay with them. Not one time in 30 days did we turn on the TV. So think about that. You don't have Wi-Fi. You're sitting outside with the animals, feeding the animals, eating food that's locally sourced, that's, coming into harvest right now. It was a surreal experience. So
yeah,
I would say, yeah, it helped it to come together in my brain because it's what I was thinking about and had the space and the capacity to think about it.
Ooh, yeah, that can be a challenge. I mean, right now I know you're going through some remolding in your business, as am I, and we can get pulled in so many different directions that it's really hard to create that space to get that one thing done. So I'm so glad you had that opportunity. Now, travel is also a part of what you're doing. I know you also went on a group trip to Peru, and not in the last 12 months, but in the last probably 18.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how does travel and so factoring, I mean, you're traveling and it's been fun because I've seen how you've unpacked and repacked your car and you put on a little thing so you had a little more space to store stuff in, and then you had to get rid of that so you could put an e-bike on the back, and you've just been figuring it out as you go along. It's been fun to watch. But travel is really part of your brand and what you're doing as well. Tell us, where do you see that going for your business?
I think that travel is really similar to the entrepreneur's journey. You have to plot your course. Where are you going to go? When you don't have a home, where are you going to sleep tonight? And if you don't make plans ahead of time, it's going to be in your car in a Walmart parking lot or some parking lot somewhere, or maybe a campsite. I do have a tent. I can pop a tent. I'll be tenting here in a couple of weeks. I'll be living in a tent for 2 weeks. So think of the entrepreneur journey. You know, we hang a shingle, we go get our LLC or our DBA for doing business as, we start to plan what that trip looks like. And then we start to cross those barriers. How do we fund it? What does our budget look like? How are we going to tell people about what we're doing? I have to figure out how to plan my budget. How do I find airline tickets? Can I use air miles for those things? Do I want to sometimes, maybe at some time in the future, maybe monetize my experience where I get to educate other people about traveling? If I'm going to do that, I need to plan ahead for marketing. So doing social posting, I'm transitioning into a new digital platform that has a way for me to blog every single day, and the container will hold that many blogs. Some of the software out there won't do that. So what are the tools that we're going to use? I'm using a car currently, but if I let go of the car and I'm traveling internationally, what are the rules for having the size of the suitcase that I can have? How many pounds can I travel with? You know, there's limits to what we can do when we're moving in and out of other countries. The visas that I need to have. Okay, transfer that over to entrepreneurship. What would that look like as an entrepreneur? I might need a business license. I might need a sales tax a number. I might need an EIN number, an employee identification number. So it's very similar. They're very aligned to each other. But I think the biggest thing is travel. We get excited and it's fun and we look forward to doing it. And we know the outcome because we've gone to places before and we've felt that joy and that elation that we get when we go on vacation. Business maybe starts out exciting because you have a great idea, but then the fear comes in. And what if it doesn't make? And oh my gosh, I can't make money. And how do I find more buyers? And you have a different experience with the emotions because your food on your table depends on it. We don't usually start a travel journey unless we can afford to pay for it or have a credit card that we know is going to cover all those expenses. So we don't think of that piece. So for me, it's been really fun to align the two of them and use the joy from the lessons learned of traveling and applying it to having that experience as an entrepreneur and providing that for people who want to walk that entrepreneurial journey. If they're struggling right now, there's a way to shift that mindset. There's a way to help them find the joy and feel the outcome at the end of it versus what is typical of an entrepreneur journey with struggle, strife, fear, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And that's why you are an entrepreneur advisor. Perfect.
It is.
Absolutely. So I have another question coming just to kind of wrap things up. Time has flown by as usual with you. I am blessed that while you're here in Minnesota, we're able to spend some time together in person. And of course, thanks to Zoom or however people get together virtually is wonderful as well. But it's so good to spend this side by side. I have a couple of sand rocking chairs that we sat in a couple of times and just really enjoyed that. But first of all, before we get to my final questions, how do people find you? Where is the best place to look for you online? Is it which social medias, website? What's your best?
abitofinsight.com. A Bit of Insight is the name of my podcast. So if you search for that on Apple or Spotify or iHeartRadio, you'll find the podcast there. You can find abitofinsight.com for my website. And if you want to reach me, it's just Lisa at abitofinsight.com. So easy access. And then of course, I'm on all the socials. You can search for my name and or A Bit of Insight is attached to all of the socials.
And once again, for anybody listening or following us on YouTube, all that information will be right below. Just go ahead, click back, check it all out. There are linkable clicks, so we're making it easy for you. So Lisa, in hindsight, what is one thing that you wish you knew before you went down this path of entrepreneurship? It can be anything.
Yeah. I think the first business that I had, we spent a lot of time creating a business plan and we had multiple copies of it. There was one master copy, but then we would make photocopies of it. But the master copy had all the chicken scratch and writing and like all the dreams and aspirations and things that we want to do. And we were constantly adding to that. And I think where I see many entrepreneurs miss the boat is they don't get clear on their mission. And, Simon Sinek talks about what is your why? And so many other people have jumped on that bandwagon. But if you don't know what it is that you want to do with your business, who you want to impact, why you want to do it in the first place. And I don't mean just to make money. Like, how does it feed your soul? How does it help you to live and breathe a fulfilled, healthy, well life? Don't start. Stay as the employee, make the money, take the time to write out that business plan. And I don't mean type it out necessarily, like put it on paper and think about it and carry it with you, carry it in your bag, really dive into who do you want to serve and how do you want to serve them? And what would that feel like for you? Because when we can take and put that emotion into our business, we have a leg up on people who are doing it other than just by the numbers. I can plug anything into the numbers. I can plug anything into a budget. I can break it down. But that clarity of purpose, that clarity of the outcome that you want to see is so important before you get started, because so many entrepreneurs fail in those first 5 years because they have a great idea, but they don't have the energy, the emotion, the passion, the commitment. There's no way I'm saying no. I'm going to keep doing this. Quitting is not an option. I will do whatever it takes. That's what you're going to need to succeed in today's world. And if you don't have that, don't start yet.
Fascinating. Because often when I ask the next question, which I was going to ask you, but you kind of already answered, is if you could give one piece of advice to someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? I mean, I'm going to let you answer that question anyway, but I may end up contrasting it. Go ahead. What would you say?
I would say go to my website and find the worksheet. It's totally free. It's downloadable, and go grab it. And it's called the Anti-Mission. And it helps you walk through, if you didn't serve and follow your purpose, if you didn't do it, who would be harmed? Why is it important for you to do it? Because what would the world be missing if we didn't have that? And I'm going to take you back to the car. You know, if Henry Ford didn't invent the car, if we didn't have automobiles, how would our life be different? We'd be riding around here in horse and buggy, and that may be good for some of us, and it may not be good for others. What if we didn't have computers? What if Steve Jobs and Bill Gates didn't go into this war against each other to come up with the greatest and latest technology and make it user-friendly and available to us? How would our world be different? What if we take that to a different place? What about penicillin? What about, some of the medicines that we have? What about the herbs and learning about planting and permaculture and growing food in the desert? There are so many inventions, technologies, services that we have today because somebody said, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to fulfill my dream. I'm going to fulfill my purpose and my mission. And they kept going. They kept going through pain and sorrow and sickness. They just kept going. Is there something within you that's going to be the entrepreneurial journey that you want to walk, that's going to have an impact on the world, like some of these profound people did?
Yeah. And so many people I talk to, and I ask that question, they say, just do it. Like, just step out. You're never going to be ready to get started. Just start. But you kind of said cautionarily, don't just start. Think about it first, process it first, make a plan first. That's kind of what you were saying earlier.
Those are starts though, LeAnn. All of those it's like how you start is different. Many people say just start, like go sell something, right? Starting begins with building the emotion, building the commitment to what it is that you want to do. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm. True. Absolutely.
You can be taken off course easily. You don't know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And it's very important to know what to say no to, because the distractions will keep you from your destination.
Well said, and a perfect ending, a perfect conclusion. Thank you, Lisa, for being here today. Super excited to see you on the summit in a very short amount of time now. We're very excited. September 16th through 19th. Right here on Zoom. So go get your free ticket, find the Restart Your Business Summit. You can visit LeAnnLyon.com. Lisa, you may have, the link on your site as well. You'll have the availability for sure. And I can't wait to see you there. Thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure. It was wonderful to go on this, walk down memory lane.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And to our audience as well, thank you for joining us on the Beyond the Business Plan to unleash your joyful business potential. Entrepreneurship is a voyage, so find your tribe for the journey. And I am LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer. Until next time, let's keep spreading joy. Let's keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, coffee aficionados and entrepreneurs, LeAnn Lyon here. Are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Well, 9 years ago, I discovered the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick-me-up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting this website, whyIlovemycoffee.com. Yes, that's the URL, whyIlovemycoffee.com, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe.
Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, leannlyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success.